Say, come on now. You are representing guys like Enron. You're saying that these companies make that type of investment and don't expect a return?
I think some of the donors that you're speaking of, and there's a long list that have traditionally given to what they feel like are business-friendly candidates. And those donors don't necessarily look for any sort of quid pro quo other than the candidate's ideology that they're supporting they know will help change the business environment or the climate for the better.
What I would say about President Bush is that there is no way giving to someone like him is going to influence his decision. There's no quid pro quo.
Sounds like bullshit to me.
So this is kind of the Wild West of campaign contributions?
It is the Wild West.
Is this a 45? Then?
I don't know if there are any other states that have as liberal campaign contributions. Unlimited, you can give $1 million if you want to give $1 million, or you can give whatever. There's the old saying, money talks and bullshit walks.
And money talks very politely to the Bush family. Not just the campaign cash for George W. and Brother Jeb. There was the $1 billion the U.S. Treasury pumped into Brother Neil's bank, Silverado. And there's Brother Marvin. His investment funds are fattening on contracts for the war on terror. And Poppy, Bush Sr., became the first ex-president to trade his Oval Office connections for cash.
The Bushes are like other American dynasties. The Kennedys, the Rockefellers. They made their millions, then bought their way into political office. The Bushes do the same, but with a twist. They've taken the game to a whole other level. See, the money gets them office, then the office gets them even more money. Call it the Bush cycle. And it's still rolling along.
I went to speak to a man who'd witnessed the Bush family's uncanny ability to turn government service into cash. He'd occupied an inside seat in Washington's spook world during the Reagan-Bush administration. Former National Security Agency man, Wayne Madsen.
It's the nature of the Bush families, particularly Bush Sr., to use contacts made from government service, head of the CIA, vice president, president of the United States, to basically call in favors later on.
Bush Sr. and other former intelligence and political honchos have joined the private Carlyle Group, whose main work is selling arms to the U.S. government and a few dictatorships.
Carlyle uses Senior Bush to make entrees to various government offices around the world, to presidents and prime ministers and kings, sheikhs, emirs, sultans, what have you. But what Bush Sr. gets in return is he's part of these lucrative contracts, and he uses his connections to funnel the money into the Bush family coffers, which finds its way into the Bush campaign machine.
In 1988, George Bush Sr. won the presidency. At this time, a contract was awarded by the government of Bahrain to drill for oil in the Persian Gulf. Surprisingly, it went to a small-time company, Harken Energy, with no experience whatsoever in offshore drilling.
I'm a shackled child, singing the good song of freedom. They've got no pride, they interrupt our grieving. Teardrops dropping for the pain of the world.
I asked investigative reporter Pete Bruton, then with the Houston Chronicle, how this happened.
Harken Oil in Texas gets an offshore contract to drill in the Persian Gulf.
You know, it's a big mystery to everyone. All the analysts, everybody said, how did this happen? Nobody understood why it happened. Why didn't Amoco, why didn't Texaco, Mobil, Exxon, BP, why didn't they get the contract? They had the capital. Harken didn't have any capital. And I found out it was because George W. Bush, the president's son, and our future president, was on the board of directors.
I
followed the money trail back to the president's business beginnings in Midland, Texas. Oil man David Rosen knew George W. back then and his operations.
It's hot.
Well, yeah, it'll be over 100 today.
Over 100. Whew. Look at that. That's one big horsey. Smells like Texas, too.
Smells like money to me.
Harkin Oil will suddenly get this contract to drill offshore from the government of Bahrain, from the Arabs. They beat out Amoco Oil. Is that a little unusual?
Well, it's awfully unusual for a small company to get an offshore concession like that.
You think maybe that they picked up the contract because George W.'s father was president of the free world?
It certainly didn't hurt.
George W. had a string of oil companies which failed to find much oil, but somehow managed to make him a millionaire. Now, how did that happen?
He ended up with millions, 4 companies that got quite some large investments. You know about that?
No. I think he made his money with his name and being able to keep moving and keep having people put money into his businesses.
So where did this money come from? You have any idea?
Well, my impression is that the money he got was out-of-town money, and that had he been successful in the oil business, he'd still be in it.
George Bush's oil companies kept punching dry holes, but he always found new investors. Some people have guardian angels. George W. seemed to have guardian sheikhs. Funding seemed to come from the Gulf, Saudi Arabia in particular. The question was, who were they? And did they expect something in return? Were the Bushes too close to the Saudis to see the dangers emerging from that nation?
Oh my God! Oh my God! What happened?
And the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
America's attacked by 15 Saudi hijackers under the direction of a Saudi named bin Laden. I couldn't find a shred of evidence that George Bush knew about the September 11th attack coming. But why didn't our intelligence agencies know?
This document is marked secret and WF, which means it walked its way out of the Washington Bureau of the FBI. It indicates that before the attack of September 11th, agents had wanted to question 2 members of a very powerful family for their connections to a suspected terrorist organization, Omar and Abdullah bin Laden. But the agents weren't allowed to. Now, what makes this family so special that they're protected from investigation?
To find out about the bin Laden's business background in America, I met with Bill White. During the Vietnam War years, Bill was a real fighter pilot. Later, he went into business with a mysterious figure, James R. Bath, who managed the U.S. funds of a powerful Saudi family.
I met many times with Salim bin Laden, Osama bin Laden's older brother, both in business settings and in social settings. Bath had bought a house. We had parties there where a lot of the dignitaries and big business bigwigs would party with the Arabs. So it was like La La Land. These guys drove around in limousines with suitcases full of cash. It was just an amazing...
Are you sure Bath was an agent for the bin Laden family?
I'm sure, beyond a doubt.